To talk about my debt-free story. You guys know I just launched it, a new website, and I just put out my debt-free story on the blog. I do have a couple of requests before we get started, and my number one request is if you find this beneficial, if you find my platform beneficial, if you find my lives or my content that I post beneficial, please recommend, suggest to friends, like my page, follow my page. And if there's like a specific piece of content, something that I posted that you really, really liked, please just tag one of your friends in the post and ask them to join. Most of you guys know, and I don't know where you are in your journeys individually. I think we're all at different stages, but most people know that in just our society today, debt is pretty normal. It was normal for me. I didn't know anybody who wasn't in debt. I mean, like, even when I talked about debt with my grandfather, he's like, well, everybody has debt. Like, why would you even care about being in debt? You got a beautiful house, you got this, you got that. Like, don't worry about that. You always gonna be making payments. So you know, that's what you should expect. And that's kind of just how society normalizes things. And so it was no mystery why I made a decent amount of money, but I was broke. To me, just deep down inside, even though on the outside people thought that I was doing really, really well, I always felt like this nagging feeling like I could do so much better. I know I have more potential than this. I wanted to get it together. And it came to a point, like, I had my daughter, I had this McMansion, and I just got to a point where I just couldn't deal with this debt anymore. It's just really important to understand that there are so many different paths and ways of looking at finances, in that, you know, I feel like it's like limitless. And I really feel like we should take time in order to control and understand our own financial situation. And then we can see that wealth or riches and all these things that are like so far reaching is really, really, really closer than we think, like within a 10-year range. For most people, your paycheck is your greatest wealth building tool. Whatever money you come in is going to be your greatest wealth building tool. So what you need to do is learn how to use that to your advantage. And if you're using the majority of your money to pay for debt, it's not going to be beneficial to you. So I'm going to get more into that. So, like, if you guys read my story or seen my post, you guys know that I had damn near $1 million in debt. That did include my houses, but who has that much debt? Like, I'm just like a normal person. I'm not like, you know, somebody that brought in $1 million a year. I'm not a Kanye. I'm not a Kim K. You know, I'm a nurse. How did I get $1 million in debt? Well, I had $1 million. I had $200,000 alone in student loan debt. My house that I purchased, which was cheap because I lived in the suburbs relative to Bay Area real estate, was over $600,000. I had another house in LA, a condo in LA that I owned. I didn't owe that much money on it, but it was still a huge financial burden. Those things, plus little debts here and there, some debts that I inherited through my marriage, all those things added up to $1 million. So how did I pay it off? So this is the quick and dirty version. The first thing, I had to get like really, really uncomfortable and be like, I know that I can do better financially. My daughter deserves a better life. Like, I know that things have to change. So I had to get to that place where, okay, my why is I don't ever want my daughter to have to struggle like I do financially. I make too much freaking money to be this broke. I didn't have $100 in savings. As a matter of fact, I had to borrow money from my sister in order to make ends meet coming off of maternity leave. That was such an uncomfortable feeling for me that I was just like, this has to change. And so that was my why. Like, I don't ever want to have to struggle again. I don't ever want my daughter to have to struggle again, because I worked too hard to get to where I'm at, to be trying to just basically just keep up with my finances. And so that had to change. So that was my strong why. I had to go there. Then I had to just understand, like, who the hell do I owe all this money to? I knew about my houses. I had taken out some loans against my retirement account. I had a car. My primary car was paid off, and I had a commuter car that I just had to have because I moved to the suburbs. So I, needed a car to get around in that was more fuel efficient, you know? So I was just like, okay, so I'm gonna get this little commuter car, and then I got a little Honda, but still debt. I didn't pay cash for it, and then I learned how to budget. Like that was the most like beneficial thing I ever could have done. Like I thought I was budgeting because I was using mint.com and I was making sure my transactions loaded up and everything, but I wasn't proactive in what I was doing. I wasn't giving every one of my dollars an assignment. So that is something that I had to learn, and that has been the biggest benefit to me, because that's what flipped the script. That's what put me in control of where all my money goes. And when I got to that point where I knew where every one of my dollars went, I just saw my growth exponentially. Like it was a point, like I used to just write down, when I was just using Mint, I used to just go through my budget and write down, okay, these are the things that I have to pay for and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I'll probably have about $400 left over. But when I started doing zero-based budgeting and really get intentional, really like writing down everything to the dollar, what came in and out, I didn't find $400 in my budget. I found $4,000 a month in my budget to throw towards debt. And once I got better at that, obviously that $4,000 grew and grew and grew. Now, that might seem like a lot of money to you, but when you bring in a lot of income, that's a lot. You have that, it's called, what's it called? It's that growth that you have. Once you start making more money, you start spending more money. I made a lot of money. I still do make a lot of money, but I didn't have anything to show for it. But once I started realizing and assigning every one of my dollars, I saw the potential of what my income can do. So that made all the difference in the world, you guys. So what the things that were important to me was I didn't need that condo, that rental property that I had, sold that gave me some money to throw at my debt. Then I had to figure out what to do with my primary residence. And that was like a longer journey that I had to go on. And I'll get back to that. But so I had this rental property in LA. I bought when I was in graduate school. I bought it in 2004. And, I was like, okay, getting my master's, I'm getting into my career. Like I really need to start building my portfolio. So I thought the only way to do it was through real estate, but I didn't do it very responsibly. And 2004, that's when things started creeping up and housing prices started getting up. And so, I was like, okay, well, let me start investing in real estate. I got my primary residence, which was this condo. I ended up getting other houses. So by the time I was 25, I had 5 houses, and then the recession hit and I lost 4 out of 5 of those houses to foreclosures and short sales. So that's how the story. But I still had this condo left when I started my journey, and I was like, well, what am I going to do with it? I need to sell it. So that helped me get into a position, a better financial position, because that helped me lighten up some of those loads. One thing that I struggle with was this $200,000 in student loans. Let me tell you guys, I did not know anybody who paid off that. First of all, I didn't know too many people that had so much student loan debt, but I was like, I did not know anybody that paid off that much debt. So I was frightened. And I was just like, it doesn't make sense. Like I couldn't make the math work for me. Like, even though it was a mental block. I have 2 master's degrees. And most of that 200,000 was just for my nursing degree. So just to give you some perspective, I had been inundated with this thinking that student loans were good debt. So everybody has student loans. I got 60-year-old people that's still paying on their student loans. So why should I pay this off? I struggle with this. I was making small payments, but I was like, I just can't see how I really need to attack this debt. And so one day I was driving to work, and I was listening to Dave Ramsey podcast religiously. And if you guys don't listen to Dave Ramsey and you're in a place where you really need to figure out where to pay off your debt, I highly recommend listening to Dave Ramsey, because he's very, very good with talking about how to pay off debt. And the debt-free screams on there, and that's where people come on and share their stories on how they went from struggling to having no debt, is amazing. Brings you to tears. It is everything. listening to the one day, I work overnight. If you guys don't know, I'm a labor and delivery nurse. The debt-free screams are everything. Like, you can just even just look up on YouTube, see the videos and see these people's faces. Like, oh my God, it's amazing, girl. Girls, boys, tear jerkers, like, seriously. So anyway, I was on my way to work. I work overnight. I'm a labor and delivery nurse. So I usually either work 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. This night it was like 11 o'clock at night. And I hear this debt-free screaming, this woman on here, she has student loans. She had about the similar amount of student loans as me. And she was in the public student loan forgiveness program that I was in. Now, I thought the public student loan forgiveness program was going to solve all my problems. And that's kind of what I betted on. And if you guys don't know, the public student loan forgiveness program is when make 120 consecutive payments on time without missing a payment at the end of 10 years, which is 120 payments, the bulk of your loan is forgiven. So I was like, okay, I'm on this plan, whatever. But you guys, do you know how much my loan payments were a month? If I told you, some of you guys would like alone by themselves, there were over $1,900 a month that I was paying in student loans. But I had to figure it out, whatever. I had a plan. So I still was clutching my pearls about trying to figure out if I should pay my student loans. So I was listening to this debt-free screaming. This woman was in the same situation, and she was like, look, I did the math, and the student loan forgiveness program just doesn't pan out. Like, you end up paying more in the end than you do if you just would have just paid it off. So why don't you just pay it off and not go 10 years down the line and have debt? And Dave Ramsey's philosophy is 10 years is too long to have debt. And I was just like, I don't know why, but I got it. In that moment, it clicked. And then I was just like, okay, thank God for showing me this. This finally makes sense to me, like saying a prayer, like, okay, got it. Thank you for showing me. I'm listening to your messages you sending me. Cool. Like, got it. All right. No sooner than I had like said my prayer, I was turning into my parking lot, into my garage, and a car T-bones me, slams dead into my car. Now, this is the commuter car that I drove, and I was trying to figure out whether I should keep that car. Now, I had paid that car off, but it still represented an asset that I didn't necessarily need. I didn't need two cars, right? So I was like struggling, going back and forth. Do I need this car? Do I need this car? So I paid off so this car T-boned me, and it totaled my car out. And it was so bad, you guys. I just knew it was side of God, because if my daughter would have been sitting in that back seat, I don't even want to imagine what would have happened to her, because the whole back of my car, when I tell you, the car went through my car. Like, the whole back of my car was gone. Like, that's how fast the girl wasn't paying attention. She was leaving the hospital. Her dad had had a heart attack, and she just ran through a light because she was crying, and she went through my car. Like, and so my car was total, and I wasn't hurt, not at all. But I just remember laughing, like, okay, thank you for both of these signs. I need to pay off this debt, and this car is not serving me. So you guys, when I tell you that was like eye-opening, and that just like made me hit the ground running, I was like, okay, I need to make this happen. So I had paid that car off. So they just cashed me out a check, and that check I just threw towards my debt. And that, once you start getting this momentum of paying your debt down, and let me tell you, when you're just making $1,900 a month payment on debt and $1,000 or more, no, I think at that time like $1,500 of that was just going on interest, you ain't seeing no balances drop. But once you can start like chunking payments, like when I sold my house, I was able to chunk some payments. And once I started moving, it gave me the momentum. Like, let me tell you, that month where I got that check from the insurance agency, I was making so many payments. I'm talking about every dollar. Like, I was making like $10 payments, $100 payments, like every money I can find, I was just throwing it at my debt. The debt servicing company said, ma'am, you cannot make any more payments this month. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll just wait till next month. But let me tell you that this debt is going to be gone. So that is the aggressiveness that I used to start paying down my debt. And, I did that in the process. I got married and I got divorced, and going through that divorce process was hard. I was a single mom, went from having some support to not having some support. So I went through a lot of phases through that process. And I share that with you not because I'm just trying to tell you my business, but because I'm trying to tell you that is possible at any stage where you're in your life. Like, you can do it. I don't want people to make excuses like, well, when I get this job, or when I get this raise, or when I do that, I'll be able to start working on my debt. Like, start now. You can do it. And once you get that traction under you, like, it's just going to keep on. It's just going to keep on snowballing. So let me tell you how I paid off my debt. So the debt snowball is when you pay your debt, and there's different kind of debt payment strategies, and you got to find whatever works for you. The debt snowball really, really helps. And with student loans, like me, myself, within my $200,000 loan, I had 10 different loans. So I kind of listed those out between like certain debts I had. Like when I was married, I was paying, my husband had smaller debts, so I was paying some of those off, all that kind of stuff. That's how it all worked. And so I got to this place a year before I actually did sell my house. And I sold my house in November of 2017. So just last November. A year or so before that, I was like in this place where I just needed to sell my house. Me and my husband were separated. We had, I was going through the divorce process. He actually held up the divorce process for a long time, which caused me to have the increased income taxes, all this kind of stuff that happened. But I was just like, I just want to get out of this house. Like, I just want to leave. I want to sell this house. And it was when I started my blog too. So I blogged about it. And I was just like, I need to sell my house. I want to downsize. I'll stay in this area, whatever. But this house is like becoming a burden. And then I realized that in order to sell my house, because I was a married woman, my husband would have to sign off on it. And I knew he wouldn't, just because of the kind of person that he was. So I didn't sell my house. I stayed there. I was fine. I got some roommates. I had a 5-bedroom house, huge house. So it helped me and all those kind of things. A year comes around and I'm just like, is this house really serving me? My house, let me tell you guys, was beautiful. Love my house. I built it from the ground up. I designed a lot of stuff. I brought my daughter there to that house when she was 3 weeks old. Like, I have so many memories of this house. But you guys, a house is just a house. Like, I had this big ass house, but with a big ass house comes hella responsibility. I had to have a gardener. I had to have a housekeeper who I didn't clean and fix toilets. No freaking way. Like, just all this stuff that it comes with. And let me tell you, when I made that decision to sell my house, it was the biggest relief. Like, finally came to that decision. Okay, my divorce is final. I'm going to sell this house. It was the biggest relief. And then came all the anxiety, like all the shit that I had to do. I'm sorry. All the shit that I had to do to sell this house was a lot. And, I had to, with my daughter, I moved back to my hometown in Oakland. So I had to take my daughter out of her school. I had to find her a new nanny, all this kind of stuff. So it was a lot. So, but it was the best decision that I made. So in selling my house, and you guys, my house was only on the market for 10 days and I got way over what I needed for it. And so I was able to pay off the last of my debt. And so as of November 3rd of last year, I was debt free. And I was debt free for quite some time until, if you guys read my blog post, until December 27th. In December 27th, I decided to do something for myself that it's not even about deserving. It's just more about like, listen, you got to know what you value in life. And it was a car that I wanted, my dream car, and I got it. And I could have paid cash for it. And my whole thing was that I wasn't going to get this car. Like, my whole thing, I would not get this car unless I could pay cash for it. But guess what? I had the money to pay cash for it. But I didn't pay cash for it because I decided to do some things and invest in myself. I totally maxed out all my retirement accounts. I did a super contribution to my daughter's account. I invested in my business in ways that you guys will see later. So all these things I did. I did not pay for my car in cash. But I have like a super, super, super low interest rate on my car that's pretty ridiculous, that basically when I finish paying it off, I will pay less than I paid for 1 month in interest and for 1 month of PMI that I was paying on my house. So just to put things into perspective, I invested in myself and I'm doing more investing in myself. But this car will be paid off. It's not a big deal. But the bottom line is that the financial decisions that I'm making now are with intentionality. So where am I going? Where am I headed? What's going on? What's new with Financially Intentional? You guys, I'm so excited. Like this, just learning about money and how much control I have over my finances has opened up so many different worlds to me. And I thank Dave Ramsey for introducing me to debt freedom and all that kind of stuff. But as I've been learning and growing in the community, I've learned so much. So right now I'm actually on a path to be not debt free. That's what I'm so used to saying that, to be actually financially independent, where I don't want to, if I don't have to work, I don't. If I don't want to work, I don't have to work. I don't know why I'm stumbling on that. So by the time I'm 40, my goal is to not have to go to work and to spend the majority of my time doing things, nurturing my daughter's education, exploring the world, just like really, really, really doing what's important to me. And that's in doing things to help you guys become more intentional about your finances. Like that just makes me super happy. And like just exploring the world with my daughter and my family. So yeah, that's what's going on. So I'm 36 right now, if you guys don't know. But by the time I'm 40, I'm going to be in a financial position where I will not have to work. And I'm just setting those things into place right now. Paying off this car is part of that, but it's no longer a big part of my life. Allocate as much money as you can towards your debt. You might not have a house to sell, but you got stuff around your house you could sell. You know, you got things that's just sitting around that you could sell. Don't let anybody tell you that your path is wrong because you're doing X, Y, and Z. You got to do what's making you happy. The key is making sure that you are taking control of your finances and that you are making intentional decisions. And that's where I'm trying to get you to. After that point, I think it's all downhill. I think that you'll figure it out. I think you'll do what works for you and works with your family. More to come, you guys. Let me know what you need because I want to meet you where you're at. I want to really, really, really do what's going to be beneficial to you. Like sometimes I can get lost in my head and I can go off on this stuff that you guys just may not understand. But I really want to bring it down to what you guys need on an individual level. But I appreciate you guys. Have a great night.